All right, we're back for episode 68 of the Idiot Circle. I'm Mike.
I'm Fred.
Bizarre.
I'm Tim. Let's roll.
And ladies and gentlemen, for a second appearance, and for this year, got week one of the MHSAA football season. We got Coach Daryn Letson of the Marine City Mariners, the only team in the area. That's worth watching. That's what I'm talking
Black.
about. Go Black.
Go Mariners!
Yeah, we say that now. We say that now. No, we'll be
Oh
fine.
Boy.
No, we're gonna be fine. It's that time of year, right? I mean, it's a great time of year when you have but there's hope for the Lions, obviously, this year, right? You got college football kicking off, and then high school football kicking off. It's always a fun time of year. You know, you get the leaves changing, and the farmers are out in the fields. You have the apple orchards, and you have Halloween, and obviously all that leads into Thanksgiving, the holidays. But it's really a great time of year. A lot of excitement, right, throughout the communities, throughout states, throughout schools, universities. So it's football is a very unique sport because for whatever reason, the fall in football, it's a way to bring schools and communities together. Obviously, I mean, with colleges, right? Kids are going back to their representative college or university, and the football team and at the school there sort of brings it all back together with the band and on Saturday afternoons. And high schools is high schools just like that. It does the same thing. I think high school football, I think I said it last year, and firmly believe that it's the purest and rawest sport we have, from an emotional and passion and the way it brings people together. I don't know of another sport that really does it. And part of it is because it does kick off a school year, right? Whether it's a college, university, or high school. Right. So
well, you are definitely right about it being the purest sport, since now that the NCAA is completely taken that purity and completely ran it over with a truck. Now high school is truly the most purest of the three football conferences. But one thing I will tell you, there is nothing better when you see July 31st come, and the next day, that every week there's going to be football on, be it preseason or whatever, and there's never a week without football all the way until February, and you can just sit there and take a deep breath and go, oh, thank Christ, because you got this friggin' Tigers completely stinking up the joint. So now you got something to actually look forward to.
Yeah, it's interesting. In May there, in May, at least in Marine City, we pass out our camp forms, and we've been doing the camp. I think this might be the third year now. It's either second or third year, but we do our high school, or I should say we do our 8th grade middle school program, JV, and high school camps. We do them the last 3 half days of school there, and it's been a really good thing because the kids get out at about 10:50, 10:55. They get lunch or whatever till noon, and then from noon to 2:33, we do our camp for 3 days there, the last 3 half days of school. And really, in May, when you start passing out the permission slips and kids start getting them, you can, there's just that little bit of excitement, like it really kicks it off, and then you get to the camp, and then after the camp, we do our 7-on-7s, and you have the nightly weights, and we've been doing some stuff at the beach, all good through June. July, you get through the 4th, you come back from the dead week, and then there's like that extra level of excitement, because you're getting closer and closer. And then for whatever reason, it seems like as soon as the boat races in St. Clair end there, the end of July, or right in that time period, we get to that 1st of August, and it's like the whole town, the community really starts to get excited. And then, back to that battle of the bands there, that's really been a neat event here for whatever, I think the last 3 years, that really has just added to the, to the excitement that surrounds it. they do a great job with that. It's a really fun time. It's a neat time, busy time. It's all part of it. I know our kids enjoy it. Our players enjoy it going down there. And it really builds it. It's, in essence, you can say like it is, they have a t-shirt there. It's really a kickoff to the whole thing there. And what most schools kick off Thursday this week. And, we'll follow it up and kick off on Friday.
Thank you. Well, you're absolutely right, Daryn. And you know what? And you are right. That Battle of the Bands is a great event. As a matter of fact, I think this weekend might have been the biggest crowd they've ever had out of the last 3 years. And it was great to see everybody kind of come together, and you get to run into some people you don't get to see very often. Plus you get to listen to some good music. That's for sure. And it is for a good cause. And, it benefits all three of the schools that are involved. And you guys are down there supporting the schools and the Lions Club and everything as well. So kudos to you guys in the Lions Club and the athletic department and the boosters for each of the schools. That you guys did a great job.
Hey, Coach, what can the average Mariner fan expect this year out of our beloved Mariners? I mean, I know we're going to have a great season, but maybe you can spell out some of the high points. You did a good job from the coach's perspective of talking about the community. From the fans' perspective, we got the leaves changing, Oktoberfest beer, a lot of drinking and football. That's that's our wheelhouse right there.
No,
Yes, and not in any order either.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I've been there since this is like my 24th year in one way, shape, or form, or whatever role, one role or another. And we've had teams similar to this. I'm really excited because, like I told a lot of these kids, we had we made it through last year. Heck, we won our conference again. We made the playoffs for the 30th time, and we're a point away there in the district championship. And last year was a good year by a lot of standards in regards to things that were accomplished. It was probably one of as a head coach, it was, I don't know, COVID was probably the most difficult year, but just with what it was like, no matter what we tried last year, as a coach, you're always throwing things like off a wall, right? And you're trying to get things to stick. And it seemed like as soon as we would get something to stick, Jeff went down with the rotator cuff. Zach battled an ankle injury basically all season there. We lose Jeremy Westrick, another starter as a junior who started as a sophomore. We lose him for a game with a thigh. We lose Colin Gabler as a sophomore who was really coming to a game with an ankle. So it was one of those years, where like no matter what you tried, and it was almost like when you sit back when the season was over, it was like we were trying so hard as a staff and really as a team. It was just, it was a fight. Those kids stayed in the fight and they did everything, everything they could. The plus of that was we had so much youth last year that played. It was like I told them, a few of them, I said, you guys were like puppies last year, and with puppies, to train a puppy, you not literally, but figuratively speaking.
Damn, Coach, that wasn't in your motivational speech.
You got it.
Puppies. You're not calling them puppies in the motivational speech, are you?
No, I just explain, but now they're like dogs.
Gotta break 'em.
Now our
rabid
tempo,
dogs.
our tempo and our pace of practice now, compared to last year with these kids having, so many young kids getting so much experience last year. The tempo and the pace of our practices are so much more of what we want.
Would you say that's going to make you more deeper because you got so much experience at those different?
We have so much. Yeah, we have way more back than people realize. I mean, think about it. Lincoln Olsen was a freshman last year. If you'd have told me he was going to start 4 or 5 games, I told you were crazy. If I had told you Paul Muscat was going to rush for over 800 yards and have 10 touchdowns as a sophomore, I'd have told you were crazy. Those guys were supposed to like fit roles. They weren't supposed to end up being, end up being the ones that have to toe the rope. And now when they come in this year, man, we just have a whole different pace and tempo to our practice, which leads me to answer your question. I think we're going to be a very, I would expect us to be very, very explosive on offense. And I think our front eight on defense has the opportunity, or will have the opportunity, to be very, very, very good. So we'll see how all that unfolds. I mean, I think we have a really good schedule in regards to, we play a lot of different styles of teams. So you have Armada and in St. Clair, who are a little more, they'll play action, but they want to run at you some. And then, Marysville is what they are. But then you also have the South Lakes, Lanphiers, and others that are a little more spread. So, our schedule, I think, as long as we're healthy, will do a nice job preparing us for the playoffs there when we get to that.
Coach, last year coming out of that kickoff game, and at home, and Armada comes in and beats you. How do you regroup the team after that? I mean, there's such high expectations for the Mariners every year. How do you regroup the guys after that?
I just told them. I even told them before the season. You're gonna take everyone's best blow, man. You just got to stay in the fight. Rocky didn't win the first round either, or the second or whatever. And we continue to talk about that a little bit, that you just got to stay in the fight, and when opportunities present themselves, when you get the opportunity to give a blow, or knock the opponent out, right, provide that winning punch, you have to take advantage of that opportunity. I mean, it's no different from last year than in other years. We're gonna, for the most part, take the best team shot. They're gonna, and that's fine. That's great. It's part of being. For the longest time, we were always the ones hunting. I mean, Coach Bob, Coach Scarcelli, and Coach Glodich there, when they were building this thing, they were hunting. They were doing everything they could. Everyone forgets, nowadays, that we lost to Marysville 10, 11 years in a row. We were hunting. We were trying to get to the level of what this program is, and now we're the hunted. And we've been the hunted for some time, and that's great. And that's a huge challenge. Our kids love that challenge.
I mean, that's a lot of weight on a program's shoulder, right? You're now the Marysville of the 1970s and the 1980s. You are the top dog. So, is that a lot of pressure going in? There's a lot of expectations on the Mariners.
I don't know. I saw a couple people I hadn't seen in a while this past weekend. They said, "Man, you have gotten really gray and thin." I said, "Well, yeah, 47 and a half now. That excuse didn't work, but I enjoy it. I try to deflect as much off the kids as possible and let them have fun with it. What people want to say about me or whatever. So be it. I've been around long enough now where it doesn't need, you just sort of, you win, every once in a while, buy you a drink, you lose, everyone wants to throw the drink at you. So it is what it is. And you just roll with the punches and go from there.
You've built the thick skin. I mean, you've done that over the years. But I will tell you right now, I have a feeling that Friday's game has been a huge focal point with your team, because they want a little bit of revenge from what happened last year at home, and if they can go out there and embarrass them and punch them in the mouth at their place, may start out the season the way the way you guys typically start the season.
Are you looking for that, Coach, or are you just looking for a good win? Go in there, make a good statement, win, and walk out with your heads high.
A couple things. Number one, we've not talked about revenge at all. We really haven't, because it's two totally different teams. It's a different, like, had we had the opportunity to play them in the playoffs last year, right? Maybe you could use that theme a little bit because you'd have the same teams.
True.
I know Coach Raleigh graduated a lot of kids. Obviously, we graduate kids. It's not an orphanage, right? They're going to graduate. So we haven't.
We don't like to talk about Alabama football on the coach.
Not sure
We haven't used the term revenge. What we have, and I'll be honest with you, I feel our program, when you look at the area, this may sound arrogant, but I just think Mariner football is the blue water area in regards to football.
You're damn right.
I think Kyle Raleigh, or Coach Raleigh's done a great job at Armada in the short time he's been there. And I firmly believe, and I've said this, I don't care if it's baseball, I don't care what sport it is. the more teams you have competitive in the area, the better the area is going to be viewed, right? And if we
I
want the
agree.
area to be viewed better, we need more teams to be better or continue to be good, right? And then you start to get that respect. I will say this: we have used the term, it's a stay in your lane game, in regards to, we feel we know who we are. We feel we know who Armada is, which is a good, solid program that's done some nice things. But at the same point in time, let's do it continually. You know what I mean? And heck, Coach Riley's on that path. He's done a nice job, but we just feel the Mariners are the Mariners, and we're going to show up Friday. We're going to kick off at 7. I think it's going to be a good football game. There's no doubt our kids have been looking forward to it. Let's be honest. There's no doubt our kids have been looking forward to it, and I'm sure their kids or their players, right, are looking forward to it as well. To try and back up last year. You know what I'm saying? Send a message that way. So it'll be a battle of wills. We'll just see where we end up at about 9 o'clock, right?
Right.
Hey, Darren, how do you keep these kids that emotional roller coaster? You got a mix of sophomores, juniors, seniors. How do you keep that emotional roller coaster of an opponent playing to a certain level? Explain that a little bit.
I just think, as bizarre as I am and can be, as you all know, I can read. And I really like to read different articles, and a couple guys I follow a lot of. I follow Dabble Sweeney. I do follow Nick Saban. I like to read and see how those guys have shaped their programs and just how they keep that they don't ever falter. You know what I mean? And I think Harbaugh has gotten Michigan now to or close to that point anyways, right? I mean, heck, he's got a heck of a team coming back this year. But I just think you gotta, if you're that team and you want to be that team, I just think you have to ride the wave, right? Like, you see so many teams that'll have a huge win on one Friday or Saturday, and then the next week, they just go down. They can't do that. So if you just ride that wave and you just be who you are, I think things work for you in the better. Now let's go back to 20 years ago, right? Or 30 or whatever. I mean, those guys, those three, Tony, Bob, and Ron, built that culture, and our kids have just continued to feed off that culture. Fortunately, I had 20 years to coach with, Bob for 7-8 years. You know what I mean? I was around I still talk to him all the time, but my job really is just to try and sustain that. They built it, right? So my job and the rest of the staff's job, we're just trying to sustain it. And I tell you, our kids, our kids have had an incredible off season. We adjusted some things we do with the training. We adjusted some things with how we go about teaching some things. We feel really, really good about what we've done in the position we're in and how we've evolved over the course of the last year. And we'll see how it transpires.
You get
Yes,
calls. Well, go ahead, Mike.
You had mentioned, you throw things against the wall, see what sticks. Do the Mariners ever script offensive plays, like the first 10 plays or whatever, or you go play by play?
A lot of people have asked me that, so I got a play script, right? It's all numbers, and then the kids have the same numbers, and I can just go 5, 6, play 5, and they just read it and they run it. Some coaches do, they script the first 10 or 15 or whatever. Mm-hmm. I've never done that. Believe it or not, I'm a big feel guy, and with the feel comes field position, because I don't want to get stuck like, okay, we scripted these 15 plays, but then we start at the 5-yard line or something, or we start at the 40 or plus 30, and then all of a sudden I get great field position and you want to deliver kill shots right away. I go more off of that. I mean, I have an idea of some things going in based on some things, but I have never really scripted.
Well, it's hard when the Mariners score like every 3rd or 5th play. So
it's funny. Mike, he said, I have scripted play. The kids have numbers. I have numbers 4, 7. That's Mike up in the stands. When you guys get the ball, we look at each other and predict a number 4, 3, 7. That's how many plays we predict before you guys score. That's usually what happens. So we're
Well,
usually
we've been, I was fortunate enough again, from the offensive standpoint, with Bob and Ron there. I mean, shoot, I played in the system, right? And then 98, 99, when I was finishing college, I came back and basically volunteered twice a week. Then I was at the games, and then I got hired in spring of 2000. So the fall of 2000 would have been my first year, working with them. But I just think, our base is still our base from what it was in 19 whatever. We've just tried to evolve some things as the game has continued to evolve. I mean, the game is wild. And I remember, Tim, back when you played in the 80s, it was basically play between the hash marks.
Yeah.
Now you're playing sideline to sideline and goal line to goal line. I mean, you're playing as vertical as you can horizontal. So
Tim's head is as wide as the hash mark, so they couldn't really run around him.
You just have to get around Tim's head.
Tim's head and Todd Davis's head just cleared a path for Randy Jones and Eric Gunderson.
Hey,
Right.
Daryn, talk about like when you have a big win or even maybe a loss. Personally, the other legends of the program, Ron and some of the other coaches, Bob, do they call you? I mean, do you talk often with them?
I talk to Bob probably during the season. I know I talk to him at least once a week.
Once a week?
If not once a week, I'll text him or whatever. But usually on Saturdays, usually on Saturday mornings, I get up on my way to junior football. I'll talk to him or he'll text me during the week or whatever. And then, Coach Scar helps out with our D line and stuff as much as he can. And then Coach Glodich there is still on. He's still part of Huddle, which is essentially the new way to look at film and stuff like that. And,
Mm-hmm.
I'll bounce things off him as well. I mean, I guess you'd be a fool not to, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah,
it's amazing. You meet some guys, and I guess I call myself a little bit old now, or a little bit of a veteran, right? Just because I've been coaching for so long. And it's unfortunate you have this. And let me back up. We have 2 new guys on staff. We have more than 2, but we have 2 younger guys on staff, new guys, and they are the complete opposite of what you're seeing a lot of today. These guys they're energetic. They just want to coach. They have no ego, and they just want to get better as coach. And they're perfect for our program. I mean, the one played college ball at Northwood, the other one coached college ball down in West Virginia. They have ideas and I guess it works both ways. Like we're not so set in our ways that we're not going to take ideas from these guys just because they're young guys. But at the same point in time, they don't want to come in and just be like the guy either. They want to coach. Where you go to clinics and you see so many of these young guys that I think can be and are good coaches, but could be really good coaches. But they're really set up for failure because they just don't know. You know what I mean? Like I've said it before. Like how many other guys in my position have been able to follow 3 guys in the Hall of Fame? You know what I mean? Like some of these young guys just step into it and you look at them and you're like, you got no idea, man. Like you sort of feel bad for them, you know what I mean? But it's also part of today's culture where so much of today's culture has no idea in a process, right? And Google, you can just go in and find the answers right away where, some of these young guys, they want to be like a head coach right now. They don't understand the process, like of working your way to that point. So
20 years like you did, right?
yeah.
well, I mean,
And-
even Ron, I think, was there 20 years, and Tony had to be darn near 20. Yeah, Tony would have been too, because Tony came in 86, 87. He wasn't the head coach till 05.
My senior year there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he and Ron would have both been 20 years, and then I was 20 years too. I wouldn't have hired me at 35. I wouldn't have hired me at 40. It takes time. It
Well,
really does.
It's funny you mention that though, Daryn, is somebody like Marysville where they had Walt Braun and they were here, and then Jim Vina came in and they dropped down a little bit, and as soon as Vina left, it went to the abyss. Where you guys, you started out with Jerry Workentine, then you got with Bob, and then you got with Tony. You guys just stayed right on that level of success, and there was no drop off at all.
Probably
because you
even
guys,
more, a little,
well,
better every year.
oh yeah, and the thing is the nice thing about it is it's that machine that you guys are, that it just you follow right along, and you guys feed off
Well
of each other.
oiled, Fred.
Well, I kind of backed off on that statement because I used it last week, but
Well, I
but
just
the
think
fact you just feed off of each other, and you
I
learn. You're always learning from each one of those guys, as well as the young coaching staff that you got working for you is learning from you.
well, I just think it's again, those like Jerry, right? Jerry and Tim, right? You guys went to the semis in '85, and Jerry had success there, and then right, Tony's there, um,
Yep.
hires in Bob, but and Bob was a seasoned, if not a seasoned, very close to being a seasoned head coach at the time he came to Marine City. And he
Yeah.
has these two young guys with Ron and Tony there, and I don't know that Bob will ever admit it. And, I don't know if this is totally true, but, just through what I've seen now in my experience and how this thing's been built, I got to believe Bob probably lost a couple games along the way, um, as Tony and Ron were growing. Do you know what I'm saying?
He let them
Like,
grow.
yeah, he let them grow because Bob
He
had
needed
such
it.
vision for the program to have lasting success, and Tony did the same thing with his when Bob retired, and we've all sort of we all have great staffs, but those staffs all have a say, and we work and we grow together, with Marysville. I don't know the situation really, how that all has transpired, but I don't think, and just using, whatever, I don't think some programs are set up for lasting success because I don't think it's tiered. I don't think it's tiered with staffs for people to stay on and for it to continue.
Mhm.
For one reason or another. And the other thing I think we've done a nice job of, and I, just through those guys, like I'm already looking at the roster, like today, this is 23, but part of my job is I'm looking at the roster, what it's going to be like in 25, so like through our youth program, our middle school program and our JV program, like I'm trying to foresee what our roster will be like in 25, for the kid, you know what I mean, to keep like I don't want to miss on a kid, so you're constantly trying to look at the possibility of what future rosters and teams may look like,
Right.
Evaluate.
as you continue to build this thing or keep this thing going.
Coach, we think of the coach, the layman people, maybe not Fred and Tim, or maybe not even Mike, but me, a layman, right? The coach is a guy who wears a headset and screams at players all day long. It's all about X and O. But talk about really what being a coach is. There's so much more, I'm sure, than just on the field on game day, XO with a headset on. Talk about like the struggles of, yeah.
It's wild. It's good though, and fortunately, when I was with those guys, I was probably at those guys. I probably drove all three of them nuts. You know what I mean? Like I was at like I just didn't miss anything, like I was at everything. And I don't know if it was because I thought I wanted to be a head coach or could be or whatever, just for whatever reason, when all three of them went someplace or two of them or one of them, like if I could go, like I just went, I just went. So, I just saw so much of what they did. So I was prepared for it. I wasn't prepared for COVID my first year as a head coach, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
as
Nobody
far as
was.
the
Lucky
fun,
you.
as far as the fundraising, the marketing, the accounts payable, the the equipment, all that stuff. But a guy who does a ton is Jesse Laboon. His dad Jim basically was the right hand man for so many years, and Jesse does so many things. He's like that.
Right.
And then Dave Volkman, a good friend of mine, is always willing to help. And there's others, Paul Muscat, who would become really good friends with that. I mean, there's the list goes on and on. I'm sure I'm missing people, but I tell you what people don't realize, and I know they don't realize, is we have an unbelievable school administration, and our principal Sherry Becker, and then our current AD, Chris Reinhardt, and Dave Maru did a great job too until he
Yeah.
got the principal's job at St. Clair, and then Miss Sibula there, Suzanne Sibula, our superintendent. Guys, I know a lot of schools, man, who have really good coaches, but if you don't have that administrative support, it makes it really difficult. And those three people, they are unbelievable, man. Like I've told people, and I firmly believe this. Like I'm at the point in my career, I can literally retire in 2 years when my son walks. If Miss Becker, our principal, were to leave, or she would call or text or whatever and say, "Hey, I found out blah blah blah," like I would think long and hard about it because I don't need to work with someone that's not going to support the program and fight all that at this point in my career. I mean, you need that strong administrative staff who's going to back you and support you, and help you along the way. And what's great is they understand the importance not just of football, they understand the importance of athletics and the just the extracurriculars. I mean, they're at every band thing, choir thing, drama. I mean, they do a tremendous job. So a lot of this really is part of what they do as well.
Well, you're right about Sherry. Well, and you got to remember, Sherry was a 3-sport or 2-sport athlete at St. Clair High School, and her dad was a coach, and she was a hell of a basketball player, and then you get Chris, who comes from Richmond, and Richmond's got a good sports program from over there, and he comes over here and he just brings that in and fits right in nicely. And you're right, Dave Maru did a great job, and he worked very well with Sherry. Did a great job with Sherry. And you're right about the superintendent. Spot on, very supportive. She's as rah-rah as anybody. I remember when you guys played Grand Rapids Catholic Central, she was down in the locker room, wishing you guys well and all that stuff. So it's nice to have that support. And I can understand, you're right. There is some school districts where, the principal and the superintendent, they could give a rat's ass about football, and if they don't support it, regardless if the team's good or not, it just doesn't fit right.
Daryn, are you so happy he validated all your statements? He agrees with you.
Well,
No,
I got something for you, D. The traditions of this program have been far and true and haven't changed much, even when I was a player and gone through the program, and I coached with the staff for a little bit. My biggest thing as a coach, as a fan, as I ran some kids through the school, but girls, but the most impressive thing I always say about the program, the halftime adjustments. Can you explain a little bit of that?
Well, it's just, Coach Front, right? He's basically our defensive coordinator, right? I think he came about 2 years after me, 3 years and I could be wrong, but he's been around a long time too. And you just have guys who understand it, and sometimes just getting that pause, right? Like so let's go back to 2018. We made the semifinals, and Coach Ron and I are standing on the field. Coach Glorich and I are standing on the field, and we're going against Harper Woods, and it's about 50 minutes before game time, and Harper Woods isn't even here yet, and we're like, I mean, the best thing for us might be they don't show. I mean, it's like they and then they show, and I just specifically remember in Coach Glorich as well, like all their defensive coaches kept saying is get upfield. And we both looked at each other and said, I don't know if we're going to win, but we're going to score some points. And sometimes just when you're playing a team like that, if you can keep it close and you just get to halftime and you can exhale, and make those minor adjustments with your kids, man, it goes a long ways. And our kids, for the most part, right, they have a belief that they're going to win anyways. You know what I mean? Whether they're winning or losing. So you go in the locker room at halftime, there's never really a sense of panic, and I really think for the most part, the worst thing you can do at halftime, okay, let's say you're losing, right? So you go in there and you read the riot act.
Yep.
Like, okay, so what at sometimes now there's a time and place, right? There's a time and place.
Sure.
I get it.
Sure.
But for the most part, going in, okay, you're losing, like they're it's not like they're not already upset. You know what I mean? So you're sometimes you got to understand your team because you're defeating the purpose if you're losing at halftime.
Yep.
You just go in there and read the riot act. That's not really
Yeah.
the purpose of halftime, right? The purpose of halftime is to fix what you did wrong. And really that message hit home with me in 2007 when we won our first one. Coach Scar was the head coach, and we were getting blown out by Flint Powers. It was
Yep.
like 28-0 at one point in time, real close to halftime. And then it got to be 20. We scored right before half, maybe a minute and a half, somewhere in there. Brendan hit Chad Alleman with a pass in the corner of the end zone there. And we went in the halftime down 28-7. And literally, we're standing outside our locker room like I always do, like we always do, right? We're talking, and then everyone walks in the locker room, and the kids are sitting there, and there was like no yelling. There was no yelling at all. All it was is, I remember Coach Scar saying, "We're going to do two things. Our two adjustments this half are we're going to block better, we're going to tackle better." And that was really just as simple as just letting them exhale and catch their breath. And we put what we did put weight on was going down and scoring because we got the ball to start the second half.
Yep.
And we just needed points. So we got a big kickoff return. We didn't return it, but we got it close. And I think Brendan ends up kicking a field goal. It's 28-10. And then from there, man, it just started rolling, and we won like 45-28 or whatever. So I guess, right back then, that was sort of a lesson that I just put in my mind. Like, you don't need to go in there and lose your mind. Sometimes just having that calming effect is more advantageous than going nuts.
Well, as a spectator of that game,
many they were leaving, but then they were coming back too.
Oh yeah, well, Melonhead down there, he was thinking about leaving. I said, "I'll tell you what, if we score before halftime, we're gonna win. We're gonna win this game." And he's
Did
like,
he say
"What
that?
are you talking? What do you?" I said that to Timmy.
Well, I was pissed. I was ready to leave, and he
Yep,
said,
and I
"No."
said, "Don't you
You
fucking
were
ever,
pulling a
don't you
Fred.
leave."
You're pulling a
Brendan
Fred.
got
Yeah, I said,
Oh,
if we score right here, I said, I can tell you right now, we're gonna win this game. And then Brendan came out and he took over. He kicked field goal. He threw touchdowns. He sacked somebody.
All he wants to tell, and he was a little pissed off too.
We know.
Oh, I mean, we all were, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it was just like, it gets to a point like, shoot, man, like how many years here? What, 99, 2000, 2001? What, we
Orchard
lose to
Lake,
Orchard
St.
Lake
Mary's.
3 years in a row or whatever. And I firmly believe if we don't run into them 3 years in a row, Coach Bob probably wins one, to be at least one.
Yeah.
I really believe that,
Then
we lose to a Riverview team in the regional final. Then we lose to a Grosse Ile team in the regional final. And then we get the doors blown off us by a Highland Park team that would fight about anybody in the state and win.
Yeah.
And then the next year there, right, we're playing Flint Powers, and you're right. I mean, we were all getting frustrated, and then for whatever reason, it happened, right? It finally happened, and then now
it evolved.
Well, the legend of Brendan Kay was born on that at that time.
Yes.
So
it's
so
great,
hey, not often you get a guy like Sonny Six Guns who's got let him shoot it. Let him shoot that pistol.
Yeah.
I guess the long and short of it is what I did, all them years is, I got binders and folders. I remember every time a season ended, like I would just write notes. And, every now and then you try and reflect back on them and see some things. I mean, God knows what, this is my 4th year. I'm not perfect. I don't know how anybody can say doing any profession for 24 years, right? You haven't screwed up or whatever. You just fix it, you move on, and let's go from there. You know what I mean?
But you mentioned it earlier, Daryn, that there's some new faces in the program and stuff like that. Why don't you reflect a little bit about that? Tell us a little bit about some of the changes, and then you mentioned also about your your junior program and your middle school. Numbers are always going to come into play with Marine City because of because of enrollment and stuff like that. Do you see that as being a deterrent somewhere down the road?
No, I actually, our junior football, we just got done with, and we'll still probably have 5 to 10 kids sign up, but our junior football numbers are really, really good. Which is our 3rd through 7th. And what we've done, COVID was perfect for this because we talked about it for a couple of years. And a lot of people, I've had the fortune of speaking at a few clinics. A lot of people, excuse me, almost laugh at me, but we don't do tag. Like our 3rd through 5th is flag. So we switched from full contact in 4th and 5th grade to flag, and then we incorporated the 3rd. So 3rd through 5th is flag. And the reason we've done that is you don't want to lose kids, and sometimes you have the smaller kid that can hardly even keep the helmet upright. You know what I mean? And then if he gets hit the wrong way, sometimes that just turns him off right away. So,
He ends up swimming.
We've gone the flag 3rd through 5th. We play like 6-on-6, 7-on-7 with the flag. So darn near everyone gets to touch the ball or whatever. 6th and 7th, we incorporate the full pads, and that's really just to get them acclimated to wearing the pads. Our varsity kids coach all of that stuff. It's really quick whistles in the 6th and 7th grade, so there's not big collisions. Our 8th grade numbers are really good. The one small class we have is our 9th grade, where the numbers are low, but that's because that class is so small for some reason. There's only like 85 kids in that class. But then the numbers, I don't want to say they go way back up, but they balance out, So our goal right now, percentage wise, is if we can get 18 to 23 kids to play football in a class, we're going to be okay. And that's about what we've been getting. So it's been good, but that youth program changing the flag has really allowed our numbers over the last couple of years to really go up. And then, the young guys, Loudon Newberry, and Josh Alaskness, are the 2 young guys that are coaching with us on the varsity. The Loudon played at Northwood, and Josh was from Lance Cruz, but was down coaching some college ball in West Virginia. Has just moved back. 2 great guys, man. They're just into coaching. They're good young guys. The kids love them. They're gonna do. I hope they're lifers. We got to find a way to do the best we can to keep them around as long as their job and everything like that allows them to. And then Jeremy Kurzakowski, who's a former Mariner, got hired in.
Jeremy, yeah.
So he's the head coach of our JV, and he's got he's got a great personality for the JV. He's going to teach a science position there in the middle school. His brother Derek's helping out, and then we got Mr. Coach Loper back helping out with that, and then Mikey Westrick, a former player, is helping out. So we got some good youth there. And then in the 8th grade, I'm hoping to get Tyler Wozniak, who was a player in the 21 team, and Anthony Murphy, that 8th grade job there. And then Jason Bell still runs our youth program. And it's nice because those guys at all those jobs, or all those levels, do a really nice job. And, I'm fortunate because I just sort of feel like the CEO, like I can just, hey, how's things going? You need this, you need that. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to look over my shoulder to see what's getting done. You just know stuff's getting done. It's getting done the right way. They're good people, good community people. And there's always days, right? There's always trying times in any profession, but it's nice. It's very nice.
So that means that you moved up Joe Forgetto up to the varsity.
He's doing the offensive line and doing a fabulous job. He's a really, really always has been. He played offensive line at Michigan Tech, coached there at Croslex for coached and taught at Croslex, I believe, for 3 years before he came down. And then, he worked with the offensive line with Coach Bob there for I don't even remember how many years, but it's probably around 2006 or 7. Somewhere in there where he did the JV, took over the JV and started doing that. And then this year it's just that time, right? It's a good move for him. It's a good transition for him. And he's doing a tremendous job. So I feel really good where we're at.
Yeah. I've always been very impressed with the job that he's done. I mean, to me, the 2 best JV coaches in, for the last like 5 or 6 years was Joe Forgetto and Kevin Mon.
Kevin did a nice job when he's at St. Clair.
Yeah. I mean, those 2 are probably probably the two best JV coaches that actually followed what the varsity was doing and built up and
Mhm.
and had these kids prepared, so you didn't have to reinvent the wheel with these kids when they get to you.
No, they do a great.
So
It's no, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was just gonna go to another question. Was
Daryn, would you like to ask Fred some questions?
No, I'm fine. Freddie's good.
All right.
Freddie's good.
Well, Rob's got a sausage in his mouth, so he hasn't said that too much. So he's just waiting. He's just trying to waiting his time just to rip on me just a little bit. So that's all. That's all good.
Take a
I mean,
breath.
so, yeah,
Take a breath.
because you know what, he can do it all now, but 3 weeks from now when he's up here, he better hide. But yeah,
Who are they playing when I'm back? Who's Marine City playing?
When are you coming back?
The
September
15th, September 15th.
That'd be game 4, right? So that would be South Lake, I believe. I believe it'd be South Lake at
You're
home.
out of town.
We're at home.
well, it's at home.
Yeah, we're at the stadium 6 times. The only time we're not at the stadium this year is Armada, Marysville, and Clintondale. So we're at the stadium.
Nice.
That might have to be we have to do our dinner plans, guys, around that and then go over.
Oh, yeah?
Go
Well,
over
yeah, my dinner plans are going to be at the rehearsal dinner. So yeah, so
Oh
We
darn.
can get a hot dog
Yep.
at the.
I mean, the voice of the Mariners is not going to be there.
Yeah. Hey,
yeah, sorry, I have
Daryn,
to find someone to do
Daryn.
the game on the 16th
Oh,
you,
you
you
should have heard him.
realize that Fred
or the
has
15th.
two voices, the one he does here, and then when he's announced, do you hear him? Like, do you guys on the field like go, what is that voice he's doing up? It's another Mariner first down.
You sound constipated.
Yeah, he did
I don't-
that
it's
this
prob-
weekend. He
It's
did
probably
it.
good I don't hear much.
I heard it.
I don't hear much.
That's what I like to hear, Daryn. That you don't hear me too much.
I don't hear
Yeah,
much of anything.
He's
To be
got
honest with you.
headphones on.
I
Hey, you
really
can-
don't. I really
No,
don't.
you don't hear Fred's. You don't hear that obnoxious voice when you're down there.
I get so locked in. There's times I don't even realize the damn quarter's over when we got the ball. I'm so going so fast to the score. I don't even pay attention.
You don't hear them bad parents in the stands saying you're a terrible coach. You don't hear that.
No, Daryn.
No,
Sometimes I'm in there. I'm a little liquored up, and I'm shouting stuff I shouldn't be shouting. That's me. I apologize.
Well, no, of course he doesn't hear it, as you don't go to the games anymore, Tim.
I know. I listen.
So,
But,
Coach, you've been coaching for a long time. Is it harder these days to coach kids, or is it about the same as the years go on? Is it?
Here's what's harder. Like
That's
our
a great
our kids,
question, Mike.
Still want to be. I mean, they do. They want to be coached hard. They enjoy being coached hard. Now, I think, right, some of that is because of just where we are, right? I think they understand, like, if you allow us to coach you hard, you allow us to push you, you're going to have the opportunity for some really good things to happen. So I think that's part of it. Just because of past success, I get that. What's different though is I talked about it and mentioned it earlier, is this whole Google world, I call it, where like kids don't understand a process anymore. They're so used to instant gratification. So you have to teach them a process. You have to bring them along with the process. So one of the things we do is with our lifting and speed stuff, we try and track it the best we can. And when they start to see the benefits of it, right, it's like it's addicting to them. They really, really, really get into it because they start to see the results. Sometimes they get frustrated because they don't see them as fast as they would like to, but that's part of like Google, right? Like Google, you see it, they're so used to seeing results all the time.
Instant results.
They just don't see instant results in athletics a lot of times. I mean, Tim, Fred, you guys all play athletic. Like, you just don't see instant results or instant improvement immediately. It's like, Tim, like in baseball, right? You try and like, I don't even use the word change anymore, because once you use the word change, it's like the kid instantly just goes nuts.
Yep.
So I use the
What do you
word
mean
tweak.
change? What do you mean?
So I just use the word tweak. It means the same, right?
Yeah.
We're just going to tweak this. We're going to alter this. We're not
Right.
changing it. We're just going to tweak or alter. So how you word things, is one thing. And then number two is like, you just need to get them to see little bits and pieces of success along the way, and then they'll buy into the process.
Yep.
One of the things we tweaked, and Coach Frent did a great job. We do Dawn Patrol, Donut Academy. So the kids come in the mornings through the month of May, twice a week. And we go over our systems. Coach Frent allowed them to bring their phones in, and he made a game out of it. So they were learning football, our defensive system, while they were playing some treasure chest game or whatever on their phone that included questions or whatever. So, part of your job as a coach is to adapt and evolve right to the time that you're in. So we try to do a lot of that type of stuff this past off season, right? And we'll see how it works out when the season's over this year, whether it was beneficial or not.
Yeah, I was gonna say, a lot of youth today, they're so involved in video games. If you can get it, some correlation to a video game, try to make it a contest,
Yes.
because it's the past few generations, you get a participation trophy for everything, so it's not really a contest. But if you can make it like a video game without cheat codes, that's what you got to do. You got to be relatable to them. But yeah, that's a great idea.
It's funny. It's funny you mention it, because one of Marine City's best football players was a huge video guy, and it was Angelo Pizzalis.
He played Fortnite to a T. Oh my God. I remember the Sterling Heights game. We opened with Sterling Heights one of the years he was on varsity. We opened against Sterling Heights. It was at Sterling Heights. And he was beside himself at halftime. And I'm like, what in the world is wrong with you? Like, we're up by like 4 scores or something at halftime, And he was mad because he had a couple of touchdowns called back. And then the reason he was mad about that was like, we weren't going to have a running clock quick enough. So he was going to be late to go on Fortnite Live when he got home. I was like, what are you talking about? So
well, he was in a tournament, wasn't he?
I don't know, something, I'm sure. It was just crazy, but
right.
Hey, Coach, I got a future Mariner here for you. My son, 9-year-old Gage, but he's in Florida. We're gonna move him up to Marine City, though.
Gage,
say hi to the coach and say go Mariners.
Go Mariners.
Go Mariners. There you go.
Yeah,
Well,
his name being
Dad loves you. I'm going to talk to you tomorrow night. We'll read tomorrow night, okay?
Okay.
All right. Bye, bub.
So he's gonna wear the number 12.
Call him 12 Gauge.
Yep, 12 Gauge.
We'll get you come up, see me, I'll get him a shirt.
Yeah. Well, hey, our next point, Coach, if I come up for the game on the 15th, chance to get me in like a one of the coaching uniform. I just want a headset. I'm not gonna change a play.
It doesn't have to be hooked up to anything.
I just want to look efficient. I'll storm up and down the sidelines and act mad when you're mad. And
that might be one of the ways I
Andy
get fired, because my principal wants it in the worst way. Actually, she gets upset when we don't have a running clock, so that's when she feels like she needs to get on the headset or whatever.
They can let him do the high step like Gloated used to do with the throw all that,
the robot.
Listen, I'll wear a pair of shorts and work boots. Maybe that'll fill a need. I don't know. Maybe
Well, you just said that you had to run up and down the sidelines. I said, well, Jason, if Andy Shield was there, they already got somebody that can do that.
Yeah.
Just give him a flag. He can wave the flag for a while.
I just want a headset on, listen to what's going on in there. I want to feel official.
It's more.
We'll just dress you up as the Mariner.
Would say the conversations are more cordial than most people would ever imagine. They're actually good conversations because, I mean, let's be honest, arguing or bantering or whatever, like, you're not really solving problems. And part of
Coach, you know who Jim Rome is, right?
Oh yeah.
About 20 years ago. No, it's not 20 years ago. It's when Nick Saban was like starting the program at Alabama. They had their first championship, and Saban was talking, or Jim Rome was talking to one of the other coaches, and he said, you know what a good administrator is? Not just a good football coach. And he had Saban's headset, like they had, tape from it. And all it was, and it was at the end of a game, they were losing. They were on the 12-yard line. Saban comes on and says, "Do we have so-and-so in on this play?" And the offense coordinator said, "Yes." And he goes, "Run it. That's it." And they scored and won the game. And he said, that's what a good administrator does. He doesn't bark orders. He's not,
Yeah,
and I'm
I
sure
don't, I
he
mean,
has
if,
in the
if,
past.
if you were to ask me what Coach Front and Coach Shield and all them guys doing defense, I honestly, the paper asked me one time and I said, I don't really know. He has these things called Babe Ruth and isosceles triangles and all this stuff. And I said, I don't even know what the hell an isosceles triangle looks like. So for me to tell you anything he does, I don't have, I know I really don't have much of a clue. I mean, I don't get into it. Those guys do a nice job. I trust them. And, every now and then I'll just mention something in regards to, hey, we're winning the game, right? The only way they're out of timeouts. Like, let's just make sure we're tackling them in bounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To not stop the clock. It's more stuff like that.
But you're not Brady Hoke where you won't have the headset on. You're not that far detached away.
No,
right?
no, I'm not that far. That's a little different. It's a little different. But no, it's good. It should be an exciting season. We're excited for it. Like any season, right? There'll be challenges. You just got to handle them the right way and keep things in perspective. And I think people, once they see us play, are going to be a little bit taken back of how many players we actually have back from last year that played that played a lot. I think people are going to be like, there's more than they thought type stuff, and I'm excited for it. I mean, why would you not be? And shoot, we'll get on the bus Friday around 4:45. We'll be there about 5:20. We'll kick it off at 7, and man, we'll be off and running.
Awesome.
That's what I like to hear. So, hey, Daryn, hey, we really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Like,
Yeah,
I know that you've always been like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do it. So, hey, I really appreciate you doing that. We wish you the best of luck this year. Obviously, I'll be at all the home games except for one, and obviously obviously we're gonna wish for another conference championship and maybe another run for Ford Field. You never know.
As long as we're healthy, we're gonna have an opportunity to do some things. You guys want to check back in about halfway through the season? Feel free. I'll be happy to do it.
Oh, you're damn right we do.
Yeah. Nice. So, yeah, again, guys, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we're on YouTube. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. If you like the show. Again, Daryn, thank you for being on the show again. And as we all say, go black.
Thanks a lot, guys, man. Have a good night. All right, guys.
You too. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
All right, man. We'll talk to you guys
Good
later.
luck on Friday, big guy.
Thanks, man. We'll see you guys later.